Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Heir of Carthage here. Yes, my namesake is on the battlefield. I love it. Not only that, we've got the Massaizeli on the other side. Another faction that I really like. So a couple of fun ones here, and the Carthaginians and the Massaizeli actually share some units, and I would say to some degree a fighting style, though it is different. The Massaizeli have some different cavalry options that Carthage does not. And of course their infantry is a little different with the knockoff Roman versions, which honestly ought to perform fairly well against many Carthaginian units. But let's go check out what we have. We have 3 mercenary Numidian cavalry fighting against their brethren. Of course, now these are Gaiatuli horse skirmishers out here for the Massaizeli army. Boy, the Gaiatuli used to drive me absolutely bananas in campaign. They were a real pain in the butt. Let's take a look at Carthage's army up front. There's a couple of mercenary Balearic slingers, and then we're going to have 4 Carthaginian cavalry. These are nice medium cavalry. You know, they're not like the most amazing armor or anything like that. It's not bad. Like, they're real middle-of-the-road kind of cavalry. Not bad, honestly. If they can get in without being charged, they're pretty decent. There's a bodyguard. And then as far as the infantry goes, look at this Sacred Band, Sacred Band, Sacred Band. So the Sacred Band of Carthage making an appearance. Now, this being what it is for the player who has picked them, hopefully it doesn't end like it always did for the Sacred Band in real life, which was usually in flaming defeat. The mercenary Iberian swordsman in the back, and then we have Gallic warriors making up the flank, and another Iberian up front. So a lot of money invested into that Sacred Band. And let's go take a look at the Massaizeli troops on the other side. We got some tribal slingers up front. Cheap slingers, but in greater numbers than the Balearics. And then infantry-wise, Desert Legionaries, looks like all across the front with some Numidian light infantry anchoring each flank. Then there is a Desert Cohort behind them, and just for you all's sake, let's see the Legionary and the Cohort. I'm trying to remember exactly which one. So 90 armor. Okay, so the Cohort is heavier armor and better defense. All right, and then the cavalry is going to be some armored Numidian riders. These are actually a heavy shot cav, and if I remember right, they're pretty decent for the price. They're not as good in a prolonged melee because they lack the shield, which provides additional defense as well. Heavy Numidian skirmisher general, interesting pick here for the general. These units are usually used to pour damage into key targets as a fight unfolds, and then they have some armored Numidian spearmen protecting their flank. Looks like 5 of those Numidian riders. Whew, that's a lot of shot cavalry. So Carthage is going to have its work cut out for it. I think in a couple of departments, they're going to have to really fight hard to keep those riders at bay because their charge is pretty brutal. And then the skirmishing thing, they definitely have the quality. They don't have the quantity. These Iberians, though, could be good at help. Ooh, yeah, I better run. Oh my gosh. Oh, these slingers. They're going to eat it. They just took that charge. That is going to be savage. And those riders are going to, I wouldn't say get away with it, but I mean, that's maybe not a terrible trade. It depends, though. If Numidia trades all of its cavalry, it will certainly be a bad thing. So they certainly won't want to just throw them away, but a Balearic slinger is an expensive and pretty important target. It's like one of the tribal slingers has been pulled back to help anchor away from the mercenary Numidian cavalry fighting against their own brethren. I'm just really curious to see how the Sacred Band ends up performing against these cohorts. The Sacred Band would have been really cool if it would actually come with... I mean, every elite hoplite at this price range should be coming with a 30 damage spear, but CA didn't make all of them for some reason. It does have really good armor, kind of a middle-of-the-road charge bonus, and pretty solid melee attack. The Sacred Band's not bad if you can get it into a fight without it getting charged. It will tend to do some decent damage, but again, the spear should have been the 30 damage spear, which I think comes with 8 armor piercing and would have made them a significantly better unit. This 29 damage one is only 5 AP, and that makes a huge difference in the way that they're able to cut down enemies. The Balearic slingers are really not having the best of it right now, so it's not an ideal situation for Carthage. So they did get their Numidian cavalry into the background, and it looks like they're harassing the heavy Numidian skirmishers at the moment. I mean, this could be kind of a cheeky way to get some damage done on the enemy. Oh! Yeah, on the enemy general here, that's going to hurt. Look at that rider, kind of waiting and taunting and working together with the Gaiatuli horse skirmishers, so Nice combined effort, but I mean, Carthage being aggressive back here, trying to keep the attention of the Numidians. Now the Tribal Slingers starting to feel a little bit of pain from those Balearic Slingers. Another cavalry unit lining up over here, thinking about charging, maybe. No, it's facing off with the Numidians. My bad. So, very prolonged cavalry skirmish going on here, and that's keeping some of the Numidian cavalry busy. When I say Numidian, I mean the armored Numidian riders. Obviously, Carthage is running its own mercenary cavalry there, but it's doing a good job here, I think, of at least occupying attention. I don't think the Balearics are going to get a great value in this game because of that charge and then having to trade with tribal slingers. But Carthage is just very okay with sitting back and playing this trade here. I guess they feel like they're going to force Numidia forward. Honestly, Numidia's got another tribal slinger unit back here that they could come into play with. Let's see what happens here. Carthage is going to move forward as well. Looks like both. Right, here comes a potentially brutal frontal assault by the armored Numidian riders, but they decide to pull back. Probably the right call. They were protected by the Carthaginian cavalry, and there would have been a pretty big hail of javelins coming in there. I mean, just in terms of sword infantry, I feel like that the Masazeli have a pretty good advantage. Sacred Band are going to be tough targets. Again, it's going to really depend on how those battles play out one-to-one. Here comes a desert cohort to back up the Numidian light infantry. So I feel like Carthage is going to need to do something to kind of break the Numidians. Look at this. This heavy Numidian skirmisher is a real problem. It's going to need to be dealt with. It's going to... Ooh, I thought it would target the Sacred Band, and it definitely should have, but it looks like it was throwing at the Balearic Slingers, of all things. Let's see, a Sacred Band engaged. So all the Sacred Band are engaged, and right now, Masazeli don't have a great line on killing off those Sacred Band. All of them are heading into a hoplite wall at the moment. Let's see whether Carthage can keep its flank safe. They will lose to the armored Numidian riders in the charge. They would win in a prolonged melee. Let's see, like right here, nice job by the Masazeli catching that Carthaginian cavalry. And then it's going to probably go for a 1-2 hit, though it did get a little too far extended there. And then on this side, they got outnumbered, though they do have a light infantry on the way. Feasibly, those could be throwing some javelins into that fight near any moment. The Sacred Band is definitely besting the legionaries. Yeah, I mean, they're doing well there because they came in after the initial charge. This Iberian swordsman's getting some nice hits as well. I don't know, Carthage can hold the flanks very long. It's going to really depend on how this fight develops after the charge. And it could develop in favor of the Carthaginian cavalry. Right now, the Sacred Band is doing well. This one's got 44 kills. They have to do very well, though, and if you look at this, a cohort and a legionary is already free here, and Carthage is beginning to get outnumbered in this vicinity. So, could get rough for him. There's some Gallic warriors coming back from routing, the general's bodyguard potentially coming in to help with this fight. It does look like that Carthaginian cavalry is slowly turning around the cavalry fight over there. There's still one here to protect, but the Masazeli have infantry support. Let's see whether the Numidian heavy skirmishers are dealing with this Sacred Band. They're not tossing javelins, though they do have them, so they must be blocked in terms of line of sight. See several cavalry units here. Carthage is going to have their work cut out for them in the backfield there, though the Sacred Band is still holding. And I would say holding nicely at the moment. Let's see what happens with this Carthaginian cavalry back here. They're kind of a last protector of the rear lines. This one got free, though, with a pretty clean victory. Opportunity to get in here and cause more damage. And this one's now turning that fight around as well, and that seems to be getting the attention of this desert cohort, which actually was kind of helping to best that Sacred Band. The Sacred Band are taking damage, but they're also doing a very nice job of holding together something in the middle here, like not just collapsing, because if Carthage hadn't had them there, then they'd literally have nothing. Look at a nice rear charge there by the armored riders into the back of that Sacred Band. That is definitely not what Carthage wants to see here. but it is just what the doctor ordered for the Massaisoli. Carthage is not looking good in terms of the power bar, and I totally understand why the power bar is saying that the Massaisoli have a decent amount of cavalry left and a fair bit of infantry as well. But, we'll see. Battle's never over till it's over. Imagine that. A battle's over when it's over. Look at me. I sound like a sportscaster right there. When it's like, the team who wins today is going to be the team who has more points when the game is over. Yeah, you don't say. Genius. All right. The heavy Numidian skirmishers are out of ammunition and feasibly would have to enter melee. That power bar kicked back a little bit for Carthage. I don't know that means it's a comeback brewing. The numbers are still very low for Carthage, though the units they have are very robust. These Sacred Band are heavily armored, and highly disciplined, and they're going to have solid attack. Though they are going to be cutting against a lot of armor, for instance, over here on that cohort. And remember, they didn't get handed probably the elite spear like they should have had. If they had that elite spear, I think that they already would have dealt considerably more damage. Those rear charges are going to hurt. Fortunately for the Sacred Band, they do have some armor that will help, but it's still going to take a toll. I don't know, look at that. These Sacred Band are tanking these fights out, but you've still got basically a full-strength cohort over here. The Skirmisher General, multiple units of depleted riders. Carthage still has a single mercenary Numidian rider there. They've got a wavering Sacred Band over here. They need to stabilize that unit as best they can. They're getting a little bit of cavalry support, but these Sacred Band are outnumbered and they're being rear charged, so an incredibly valiant effort on their part. Pretty solid kills on all of those units. But I feel like that the power bar is going to sour against Carthage here any moment unless something crazy were to happen. I just don't see them pulling this one back. Like, you'd have to have the general die and just suddenly everything chain route, which again does not look likely. As much as that would entertain us all to see. Epic performance, though. A very solid performance. Sacred Band did honestly better than I thought they would here. Ooh, look at this, though. They might sandwich this thing up over here. This one managed to hold on for a very long time over here. It's down to 26. But it just keeps holding on against that cavalry. So now there's two Sacred Band units, and the heavy Numidian skirmisher is really feeling the pain here. Again, that's where the general's at. Oh, that hurts. That was a nice play by the Massaisoli there, pulling that unit away, chucking those javelins. I think that finished it. Wow, what an effort, though. What a final effort by the Sacred Band to pull off a victory. But, much like the Sacred Band in real history for Carthage, defeat. Yeah, sad story for the Sacred Band. They had such high potential, but never managed to pull off anything super spectacular, at least not in the major battles that I read about. That doesn't mean it never happened. Obviously, I was not there for all of Carthaginian history, but again, a very solid performance there by Hotel Soap's Sacred Band. So impressive and an interesting pick in that unit, right? That there's always some risk when you bring unit like that. And the Numidians, like these armored riders, they clearly were not better than the Carthaginian cavalry in that prolonged melee, but there's a lot of them, and they can cause a lot of damage to units quickly with their charge. They fall apart a little quicker, but, I think the price was right. And honestly, these knockoff Romans are pretty solid troops, especially up against a faction like Carthage. They may not be that impressive up against other Romans or other stuff like that, but they are definitely solid troops up against a faction like Carthage. So, good game to Cali and Hotel Soap. Some impressive play from both players there and a fun one. I will be back with more soon. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.